Welcome back to another video of Super Nathan Jr. I know it's been a hot minute since I posted, and I know my ranking for DreamWorks is still not out, and we are far beyond late. This is I get expelled for late, so I'm so sorry about that. Anyways, today I will be reviewing Iron Lung, the new movie by Markiplier. I've been waiting for this movie for like 3 years now. I was there when he initially launched in space with Markiplier. That one was hype as fudge, especially as a freshman, and a nerdy freshman at that. Sorry about the mic movement. So I was very excited for this movie. I was excited to hear when it got announced in like 2023, I think it was. I was very surprised he took on not only just an adaptation of a video game, but he decided Iron Lung out of all games. I recognize that Iron Lung has some cool lore attached to it, but I couldn't have expected Markiplier to choose this story. Anyways, there was very few news announcements regarding this film throughout the years. Like, there was a trailer dropped, and a year later he briefly talks about it on occasional live streams about it. Then he launched his final trailer for the film a month ago, which got me really excited. Release date, January 30th. I was so hyped. I was so excited. And then I was really hoping it would come to where I live. And it did. I was surprised it came to so many theaters, like 4,100 theaters around the globe. That is phenomenal. And he did this without marketing, by the way. The most marketing there was a trailer. So that just goes to show how big his fan base is. And before I even get into the review, I have to say I'm really proud and happy for Markiplier to see that this indie film he created, with a budget of about $3 to $4 million, became so successful. Just opening weekend, he already made profit off this film, significant profit. So that's already a phenomenal start, and just would further push him forward towards his filmmaking hobbies, and I really appreciate, and I'm really happy for him. I love Markiplier. He's my favorite YouTuber by far, and I'm so glad to have watched this opening night, and then I rewatched it just earlier today, actually. So this is when the video posts. It will be a little late, but it's fine. Okay. Oh shiz. Okay, hold up. What? Huh? No card? What are we talking about? There's a card. I'm sorry. This thing is bugging out. So sorry. Forgot to click record on the recording machine, so half of this video will sound crappy and the other half will sound good. My bad, champs. This was definitely one of my most highly anticipated films of this year. Let's jump into the movie itself now, finally. This movie was completely unexpected, which is a little ironic since I know what the game's about and I've seen his Let's Plays, but it's been so long. It's been so long since I watched the videos. It's been like 3 years at this point, maybe even more, since I watched him play these games, that I guess I forgot what the premise of the game was. Like, I remembered that you go to locations in the submarine, but I guess it didn't click in my head this movie would have to take place in just one location. By the way, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie, please watch the movie before this. I will be spoiling. It just takes place in one location, which is the submarine the whole time, and I guess it didn't click in my head that was going to be the case. Now, there are a couple scenes, mainly just one scene outside of the submarine, which is just some lore towards the main character, whose name is Simon, to further establish why he's here in the first place, which I do think was a good job that they did that and included that, and they didn't just have a random backstory that was unnecessary. I like that they actually had it important towards the lore, and I love with this film that they built on the lore that the game had created. So I love that very much about this film. There is a lot to unpack from this film. let me premise first off, this movie is one of the most unique films I've ever seen, and I don't say that lightly. I've said this quite a bit recently in my Letterboxd reviews, but I don't think I've said this much on my YouTube channel review, and I genuinely mean it. This is one of the most unique films I've ever seen. This is an eldritch horror style film. I didn't even know what that was until I watched this movie and people were talking about it, and I like it. It's a very interesting story. It's confusing. If you haven't played the games or watched someone play the games, you are not going to understand much of what's going on. You can piece little bits together, and maybe that's more enjoyable for you. There's a lot to enjoy. The highlights of this film is definitely going to be the cinematography and the visual design. I think the lighting in this film and the camera angles and all the camera positionings he does just within this submarine is phenomenal. And I think the scene where they show the giant tree, like on the one of the ships that exploded, according to the movie lore, looks beautiful and well done. The opening scene to start off the movie is brilliant. The dialogue's good, but just the cinematography, seeing the submarine drop into the blood ocean, is phenomenally done with the CGI. So I think they did a good job with that. I think they kept the tension pretty high throughout this film. They did a good job at making you very immersed in this world and feel like you're there with Mark underneath a blood ocean, alone, unable to escape. They do a phenomenal job at that, and they don't let up. It feels very real, in my humble opinion. The story is interesting, and I really appreciate Iron Lung's lore a lot more after watching this movie. To further grasp what this quiet rapture they're talking about, and also what they're trying to accomplish by going in this blood ocean, it's very interesting. It piques your interest, it makes you think when you watch this movie, while also being on your toes regarding what's outside the submarine. Regarding the pacing, surprisingly they do a good job with the pacing. The movie is 2 hours long, which is very surprising, not just because it's indie. I mean, there's plenty of 2 hour longs, longer than 2 hours, indie films. It's the fact that it's Iron Lung. I was expecting an hour and a half about, because that's a full-length feature film. But more than that really surprises me, especially with the premise of Iron Lung, especially since it's just Mark on screen for 99% of the duration, with just voices you hear on intercom, or that one scene where they do show two other characters in this film. So I think that's really interesting, and they do a good job with it. They make the slow pacing works. It slowly builds up to the result. It will do this thing where it will slowly show Mark trying to survive, and then it will have a cool, tension is high sequence, and then it will do that same thing again. Do it for the duration of the film, and it works really well. The acting of this movie, obviously voices are a lot easier to do than full-on acting, so the voices are great. Markiplier, I was a little uneasy starting this film with Markiplier as the main character, and it's not just because he's a YouTuber. It's a little more than that. It's also the fact that he did shows prior to this, choose your own adventure type shows, and he played himself as Bear Grylls, for instance, type of a character. So it's a little weird. It was a little weird getting into it. Not to mention, I feel like his acting was a little weak at first and felt rather forced, for lack of a better term. And then as the movie went on, it got progressively better, and I really loved his acting by the end of this film, so props to Mark. Briefly, going to talk about the music. Andrew, whatever his last name is, does a good job with the soundtrack. It fits the vibe very well, very well. The tension is high when action sequences happen throughout this film, and it keeps it very creepy and eerie throughout the film with the sound design and stuff. So they do a great job with that. It's not remarkable, and it's not something you would be like, I could really listen to Iron Lung soundtrack, but it's not supposed to. It's supposed to fit the vibe of the movie, which it does, so splendid job on that end. So I've glazed this movie to heck now. Now it's time for my problems with this film. First of all, one of the biggest problems definitely for most viewers is going to be how confusing it is to understand what's going on. For two reasons, it's hard to understand what's going on. Obviously, there's one, it's just a lot of lore, and they don't explain any of it. They hint at explanations, but they don't explain any of it. And unless you played the game or watched the Let's Play, you won't get it. Not saying you can't enjoy the film if you don't understand what's happening very much. My friend, who doesn't know anything about the game, gave this movie a 3.5, so clearly you can enjoy it without knowing what's happening to a degree, story-wise or lore-wise or concept-wise. So that's one of the flaws. And then the second reason it's difficult to understand is because the dialogue in this movie is too quiet. I'm not sure why they did it in that way, and I don't think that was intentional. Maybe it was. If it was intentional, I think that was a bad design. Dialogue is definitely one of the most important parts of this film, and if I can't even hear what they're saying, you're kind of taking away part of the film. The abrupt ending, I think going from 0 to 100, regarding action intensity and all that, is fine. I think that works really well for this movie. Build it up throughout the entire movie and then huge climax at the end. I think that's fine. I think that works well, and seeing all the blood and visual design come to life with the cinematography was gorgeous and spectacular to watch. I don't like they put emphasis on, we need the black box that you got to download the information from the other submarine. He does that. That's great. But then it shows the monster chomping down, destroying the submarine. It's a little unclear, but it shows the black box having risen to the surface. The people pick it up, and then the movie immediately ends after that. Just the credits start rolling. I think I can appreciate that ending a lot, because it just goes back to my original point of, I don't even know if I said this in the review, where it's just in the middle of the story. It's not showing you the beginning, it's not showing you the end, it's in the middle of everything. So I can appreciate it for that, but it still feels very abrupt and unsatisfying, especially since Simon, the character, obviously dies. Yeah, I think that about sums up my thoughts on this movie. I absolutely loved this movie and loved the different approach it went completely different than what I was expecting. It's a phenomenal horror film, and I'm very impressed with Mark's debut film. I give this movie 4 out of 5 or 8 out of 10. A phenomenal debut film from Markiplier. It's nothing grand, purely because lore alone isn't good enough to make a good story or to make a good movie, but it did a great job of it, and there's so much to love with this movie. What do you guys think of this film? Please leave your thoughts down below in the comments. Please drop a like and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. And also, if you haven't seen this movie and just decided to skip to the end, or decided to watch this spoiler review, please give it a watch. It's totally worth it. It's very exciting and very impressive, like I said. So yeah, that wraps it up. See you guys in the next one. Adios.